will say one thing is that both the Zeri and the Taliyah are open. So I was thinking RNG would take one, then get the other, but they actually go for the Wukong in this situation. 4-way. Now the question is, what are AL going to do in response? I feel like Taliyah, when you have 3 mids banned already, Taliyah should be so good right now. But also Zeri is available for Betty.
Yeah, both.
I mean, why not? Why not is my view of it.
Dude, Forge just played Taliyah too. I mean, 5 games. As you said, the highest presence. Are you willing to give this away over to Xiaohu? Anyone's legend. They're going to try and beat Kung Fu Panda here, as per the logo. Again, reminds me of Jack Black movie. So good. But, Aux, what's more important? I forgot what I was saying. Something about RNG's Taliyah mid lane. And you also have Sivir Yubi. That's also something we didn't touch on.
Do they mutually agree not to pick Taliyah? It seems so weird that they've just not lent on it at all. I feel like in this position, you picked up the Sivir. We'll see if RNG opt to pair a support with it now, or they opt to go in a different direction. Nara is still available, that they could take the Breed, the Taliyah, which, you know, I've mentioned like 8 times now, is still available. Plus, you're into Lee Sin, very effective at shutting him down with the Unraveled Earth. Yeah. So we'll see if they opt to go in that direction or what they opt to do here. But it looks like they might go back to an old favorite, which is that Lissandra, which could be the reason why we didn't see the Taliyah come out. Lissandra pretty effective into it. Obviously, the Unraveled Earth does nothing to your claw. So RNG will take that one. A tried and true favorite for Xiaohu, and AL, I will see what they offer in return.
This will be a lot of mobility. Forge locks it in. Okay, the Akali comes out. 3 games already played here for the mid laner of anyone's legend, but Aux, that is a lot of mobility. But against Lissandra Wukong, I kind of wonder how this is going to work.
A lot of lockdown. And, you know, this is a specialty pick for Forge. This is one of his most played full time. And he is very competent on it. But I feel like, you know, into Lissandra, into Wukong, you are going to get pinned down. It is going to be painful. But I will say AL are now going in the second rotation of picks. RNG, you know, you can target supports. Things like the Yuumi could get taken away.
Yep.
Nara is also something that ZDZ could potentially pick up, although it isn't something he's really lent on. So it'll be interesting to see if he does go in that direction. But obviously is still available, still a massive power pick.
I just really think so far these supports are going to be put into a corner. Chocho so far, things like the Amumu's been played. I want to go through his champion pool. It's actually been his most played, funnily enough. Outside of that, Nautilus, couple of Bard games. Renata, which is now banned away. Leona. Orcs, a bit of engage needed here on anyone's legend.
I feel like it would help. Some lockdown would go a long way. The thing with picks like Lee Sin, like Akali, is lockdown can be really valuable, just so you know, you can connect with your skills. The problem is, you know, typically Nautilus we often talk about, really not that good into Sivir, because you can just spell shield your Q, can spell shield your ultimate. But you see not banned by AL, that could potentially set them up to take Gwen again. Remember, ZDZ on the Gwen. I think he had an okay game. Obviously was put a bit behind, but wasn't like getting crushed. But with the Gnar taking off the cards, ZDZ could scale up to be a monster.
Surely. I mean, ZDZ was probably in one of the better positions of last game as well. But now the Gwen's open, opportunity arises. GP's a final ban. And remember, ZDZ is someone who plays things like Camille, Jax, Cannon also on his list. We'll look through, but for now, Gwen the safer pick, as you mentioned, and it's going to be his 3rd game of it as it gets locked in, and we get a support counter pick. Never mind, top counter pick instead, with the Alistar giving some of that engage.
Yeah, so they want to engage, and the Alistar works well into the Sivir because obviously, you know, even if she does, it's hard to time the spell shield. I have seen it done before, but it's like you can delay it and then obviously proc it with a W, then Q after. So Chocho should be comfortable in being able to do that. Means you can punish the Sivir, means you can provide that engage. RNG will pick up the Rakan for Ming, so something with a lot of mobility and provide some lockdown for themselves. And then I feel like Breed has to take the Gwen here, and that means CDC is probably just going to be the Jax in return. Bit of a specialty of his, so we will see come through.
You know Jax is the right answer, ZDZ. ZDZ, talking to you, lock it in. Thank you so much. Because when he plays this Orcs, let me tell you, he's played 4 games. He's 50-50 on it. But ZDZ is this kind of hunky man who's just so aggressive. I feel like what we've seen out of ZDZ through this split, and even his IG days, is that ZDZ was someone who, let's just say, he kind of has that flair, right? And against Breathe, you need that flair. I know we haven't talked about the top lane matchup, but Jax versus Gwen, good luck to ZDZ, especially when Orcs, anyone's legend comp, can be so volatile in these solo lanes.
yeah, like if Akali is behind or gets locked down, she's going to have a rough time in team fights, right? And Akali is a very much a momentum pick. When ahead, monstrous. When behind, can kind of be underwhelming. Especially, like, it's not very easy to actually execute anyone on the side of RNG, right? Gala has the spell shield, has the peel of the Rakan. Xiaohu can go into stasis. Wukong's not easy to pin down. You have the immunity of Gwen. So I feel like when it comes to 5v5, RNG should be really comfortable. Really, really comfortable. We'll have to see if AL can try and challenge him before that.
Especially on the pick like Lissandra. Xiaohu, because of this Lissandra pick, every team that's gone against them pretty much has looked at banning Lissandra. At the moment, against RNG, their top ban against them is Lissandra at 58% of the time. Yeah. When Xiaohu gets Lissandra, he usually wins games. It's his most played for a reason. This will be game number 8. He is 6 out of 7 wins on the board. Or 6 out of 7 games, excuse me, is wins. You know what I'm talking about here when anyone's legend try and fight their way up for out 8. They're so close. Imagine being anyone's legend with RNG, JDG, Top Esports, and EDG standing in the way. You're the next team that could realistically lock in playoffs, but you just can't touch it yet. And anyone's legend with this schedule orcs, I don't know how they do it.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where a lot of people look at, you know, when you're facing a team like RNG, Top Esports, JDG, a lot of teams will just write it off. They're like, look, we'll do the best we can. If we don't win, it's whatever. You know, we're not expected to be RNG. No one's really coming to thinking AL are favored here. But AL don't get it, just write it off. They don't have that opportunity anymore because all of their final matchups are rock solid. AL need wins. And on top of that, it's not just series wins. They need game difference as well.
Yep.
Right? If it does come down to them being on 7 wins, game difference could be the difference between them being in playoffs or not. So AL, by all means, need to fight tooth and nail for every single possibility they have left in the season. They can't just write off the series against RNG. It was a rough game 1. Very rough indeed. But this game 2, they have some specialty picks, some comfort for ZDZ, for Forge, and for Xiaohao. Yep. We got to see what they can do.
I mean, Xiaohao on the Lee Sin, a great example. I remember him taking over Haro, and this Lee Sin was one of the few champions he showed us first off. As even for Betty and Chocho, as they get on the Alistar and the Zeri, let's hope that Betty here gets to a comfortable position on this strong pick. As already Gala and Ming with a good opening trade, and it seems like that lane has already started off well. As Xiaohu on this Lissandra Orcs, Forge is getting bullied, beat up to kick us off.
Yeah, not having a fun time. And actually going to take even more damage here. Face strike for Xiaohu as well. Looking at the gold advantage. But it's like, do you back? You know, at least, right, Forge has Doran Shield and Second Wind. So we'll be able to sustain up a little from that. But yeah, that is suboptimal.
Yeah, to say the least, right? As you said, might need to back because Forge has TP at the least. But having his jungler nearby may prove a benefit if they can turn something around. Having said that, though, Xiaohao will be on a ward as soon as he goes to his Raptor camp because Xiaohu, it looks like with the edge, was able to put one down himself as trading in the top side continues to blow up as well. And ZDZ doing a good job so far on this Jackson Creed, taking the worst off trades and even that extra Q damage going astray.
Yeah, ZDZ using a lot of mana here to trade in. But this is how you kind of got to play Jax in a lot of matchups. It's like going super aggressive, using the counter strike, having the damage stacked up, and being able to turn it around in your favor. You see, actually seeing Breathe have to potentially go for a reset here. It's going to hold off, and this means Xiaohao, you could have a window to threaten this, but Wei is on top side as well.
Yep.
And with mid prio, Xiaohu is moving over. I don't want to get involved in this fight. I think Xiaohao just back away.
Yeah, Forge doesn't have the HP bar to play it, and with the Scuttle Crab going down as well, it's going to make it even more difficult. Forge sits in the Shroud, and he might have even CS now, but Xiaohu with a full HP bar. It's fun to watch as we get the 1v1 out of junglers, and Xiaohao comes out better. Way forced back for the time being as he sticks around, but I'm not sure what anyone's legend could get else out of the top side of the map.
Yep, and Scuttle was missed by Xiaohao, obviously secured by RNG. He will be able to head over and pick up his Raptors. Forge going quite aggressive now, actually.
Good trade. At least get something back onto Xiaohu with his jungle nearby. Xiaohu knows Xiaohao's moving down as well. Oh my god, I just realized. Xiaohao versus Xiaohu is going to be a hard one. But Xiaohu actually getting forced to back for once is a nice play from Forge.
Yeah, Forge finally connects a Shuriken. And I think, you know, a big thing is that level 3 for Akali, It's not exactly like a strong point for the champion because, you know, you get much bigger spikes later on, level 6, level 9. But at least at level 3, you can actually, like, you know, do a rotation of abilities. Whereas level 1 Akali is pretty much useless. And is at least to show that you can put some pressure back in return. And bear in mind, you know, Forge very experienced in Akali. The expectation is, as much as it was a rough early game, should be able to weather the storm a bit here. And has now picked up a refillable potion as well. Going to help with that sustain.
A bit of extra damage with the amp tome on top of that as well. Aux, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what we can expect around these first couple of objectives, though, because RNG's bottom lane going well. We saw mid, as even though CS is even, doing nice enough, and Breathe even with a small CS lead as he pushes in that wave. Will be TP too, so looks like the CS will be even topside as well. I was going to ask you a little bit about what happens at the 6 mark and how anyone's legend can play for these first couple of objectives to look for that snowball.
Yeah, so I think a big thing for AL, hold that thought.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, right? Flash is available. Ming's here. Holds onto it nicely with the Gleaming Quill, giving some sustain to Xiaohu. Now Xiaohao wants to pick off the olive branch that's fallen a little bit further away from the tree as he waits patiently. Ming still in the brush. He knows. Thinking about the angle. Okay, Ming available. Sonic Wave is there, but Xiaohao is just mitigating the fact as Chocho moves as well. Aux, you might have a bit of time to answer the question I was asking before.
Yeah, so I feel like one of the things is that AL has like strong skirmishing tools in like the Lee Sin, the Akali, even the Jax and the Alistar work well in like when you find like 2v2s, 3v3s. But I think RNG just has such fantastic engage and lockdown. For RNG, they can set up for picks. They can set up to just take out a target immediately. Whereas AL, in the extended fights, can find value if they don't get bursted out. So I think it all comes down to the setup for these fights, how they arrange it. I feel like RNG are the ones who have more tools to make things happen.
Well, RNG also have the 6-point as well, so those tools readily up and available as Chocho and Ming are now perma mid with Forge and Xiaohu as Herald is not close to spawning. We're about a minute 30 away, but Dragon's still sitting there while anyone's legend gear up for this topside invade. Might turn into a dive, Aux, but 4 members against Breathe, who's trying to hit level 6. I'm kind of curious because Breathe needs 6 ASAP. Now has the needlework, launches it out as anyone's legend are making the dive, but in his little circle, ZDZ having to flash away. He's dead for first blood. It's a double under the turret. Chocho also almost next as anyone's legend get absolutely Gwened with another Caesar and 11. We go up to RNG with a flash. Xiaohu forcing another. The ulti still available. And RNG's top laner taking away oxygen again.
Absolute disaster for AL. But Breathe, as you said, fought to get his level 6. And it came off to great effect for AL. This is the problem is they don't have level 6 in Xiaohao. They don't have the kick from the Lee Sin. They don't have the CC. And they lack the setup for the Lee Sin, right? I said hoping that they'd have some CC so you can connect those skills. But importantly enough, Chocho isn't there yet. And the ult comes in just in time, right? They stun him, but in the mist, he's so tanky. Ignite ends up finishing off ZDZ. We quickly see Xiaohao follow. And yes, finally the CC from Chocho comes in and they finish off. But it was just, you could tell how rushed they were. They knew Xiaohu was coming. They wanted to make the play happen quickly. And I mean, it ends up backfiring so heavily. You gave 2 kills over to a Gwen.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, the Jax is probably not happy about that one, Aux. ZDZ also died, though. So part of the crew, part of the ship now has a leeching leer for Breathe. Top lane, a bit of a problem. While Breathe is just taking red buff by himself.
Yeah, why not? At this point, Breathe has realized that he is now... It's going to be a fun game for him. So we'll just steal this away. And the problem is, right, is, you know, betting on this Zeri is going to take a while to get going, right? Yep. You know, and Forge is doing okay, but ZDZ is now behind in the lane matchup. And once more, they need Chocho to be there. They need the lockdown to set things up. So he's starting to roam up, but RNG is so confident they've already started to take this Herald and we'll just secure it. And at least, you know, if you look back to game 1, when AL got the Herald, RNG had already grabbed the Dragon. But AL have nothing to show for their time, nothing to show for the fact that RNG have a Herald in pocket.
And no control on the top side as well with ZDZ pushing out. Look at where Wei is. In the middle of river with the Scuttle Crab available. Counter-strike is used. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, activation evasion. The ZDZ will now leap strike out. Still threatened away and having to give a little space while Breathe has the wave. In the perfect position, Aux. ZDZ will just have to stop here for a bit.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's so scary right now. The Gwen almost got Ignite back up, has the red buff. such a scary position to be in. And with the wave frozen there, you know, you can see the squad coming over. Xiaohu can just flank over the wall. ZDZ, you're already dead.
Yeah, he is. That ultimate wasn't used last time. Xiaohu will be able to get into position as 3 versus 1. ZDZ, this needlework looks familiar as he pops the ulti, but Jax can't evade everything. Goodbye, Sweet Prince, as Breathe is 3-1. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle in for Gwen things in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, this Gwen is going to be a monster. Breathe already so strong. And a big thing there is because as ZZ tried to buy time, walked into the alcove to try and allow his teammates to get there, RNG knew he was dead, didn't even burn anything, right? Apart from the Gwen ultimate. So very painful. At least AL answer on the other side and pick up this Hex Tech Dragon. Give them a little boost in stats and work towards their soul. But Breathe has already got a Rift Maker.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt. Way before anyone else on the map. Now, Gala might be ganked here as Betty's trying to equalize the wave. It's just Xiaohao with Chocho on mid-wave, but it might depend here on the kick, and if it can be spell shielded. Xiaohao is now spotted out early. And Ming now coming back down. Well, this jungler is just not getting anything done.
It's so hard to make plays on a Sivir. This is why she's so good at the moment. It's not just because she scales so well, but you can just chill in a side lane, clear waves endlessly, and like Xiaohao, if he throws a Q, you just spell shield it. No chance of him getting the kick off. If he does try to like ward hop and then kick flash, you can spell shield the kick. He has to like proc the spell shield. It just makes it so difficult, and it means that RNG can make plays around the rest of the map confident that Gala's just going to farm up a storm and be a monster later, which has led to the state where, you know, top is bleeding, but you're not being able to shut down the Sivir, and Xiaohu and this Lissandra. This is why this pick is so feared, right? It's not like he's good, even though he had a decent laning phase, it's not like he's crushing the laning phase. It's the fact that he moves someone on the map and someone on AL dies. That is literally how it goes.
As the Glacial Path comes out, AL gearing up towards his top side yet again, getting some vision. This Way is looking for the counter, especially with the Herald and Aux. This Lissandra on Xiaohu, as you said, it's always a big deal. Cyclone starts off the fight. Forge looted in place as Ming comes in, down with the quickness, and Big Breathe is here with the needlework lined up as well. Chocho, kill number 4. Next up on the menu, boys, as Breathe will die, but the problem now becomes Forge surviving his days. They make it close, but ZDZ comes up next. A double into a final kill. Anyone's Legend are absolutely losing.
And Forge does what he can. Does actually manage to get the shutdown. So there's at least something positive from that for AL. But the fight is lost. And the Lissandra pick there actually coming in huge. The Frozen Thralls, a big reason why RNG won that one out. Now, do you see the Herald thrown down top immediately by Way? A little bit selfish, I gotta say, you know, you'd love to have that gold on your Gwen, for example, but he's like, no, it's going straight down. He'll take the reward. 3 plates just for Way, so this Wukong's gonna be really strong. And when you see Betty has managed to pick up some plates on the bot side, but we're gonna replay that fight first. And I want you to just track how effective the Frozen Thralls are here. Because Xiaohu does get like focused down a little bit. You get a bit of help from Ming with the quickness. He claws over the wall, self-ults, and then initially it's 3 taking down Chocho that gets the first Frozen Thrall. He goes down, and then Xiaohao comes in, stopwatch, and then the Frozen Thrall kills Xiaohao. Now there's another one there. They come in again for the fight. Another one connects. It's just that repeated value.
Are you ready for a Glacial Path? Everfrost Flash still available. Xiaohu makes it happen. In place, Chocho will stand, and Everfrost follows through. At least he survives with all the bad news coming up for anyone's Legend. It's now with a 2k gold lead and RNG having pushed bot. It's once again anyone's Legend backing off.
RNG just is Pim and making proactive plays, and they go for that one because they know Chocho's ultimate wasn't available, not able to cleanse the Glacial Tomb, and not able to get that damage reduction. And now the flash is down for the Alistar. There's something else RNG will be tracking. This flash is down for everyone apart from Betty, and they will just keep using that to punish members of AL. Now Breathe once again goes a little aggressive. You want to steal the red buff again. That's what he's actually doing there. Yep. And he will get scared off this time. But Breathe, just very cheeky behavior is all I'm going to say on that one.
This Gwen is taken over. I mean, still only the first item, but we know that next back for Breathe is going to be significant too. I will say, though, in that last fight, Forge was able to pick up his Night Harvester Orcs. Like that Akali, first item, we know how brutal can be if the ball starts rolling. At the very least, after this rougher laning phase, Forge is relevant in this game.
Yeah, Forge is strong, and Forge can be a problem for Breathe. Akali is sometimes even picked into Gwen as a counter because it can solo the Gwen out in team fights, you know. We saw Forge causing issues to Xiaohu in the last fight. Xiaohu was just trying to get into the mix of the team fight and was being soloed out. And as much as like Gala has the spell shield, which is a useful tool, you know, it still can be problematic if Forge plays it well. I don't think they're the easiest targets by any means, especially in the clump 5v5. But that's why AL want like scattered team fights. They want skirmishes. The less people there are to defend against your Akali, the better. But RNG aren't really given that window. You see they go over and pick up that second Herald. And we see that Xiaohu will TP and bot to defend as well against the Gwen. So Dragon's coming up in a few. AL probably should be in position to try and secure this Dragon. We'll see if RNG can get there in time to contest it though.
And Breathe does have TPs. He sits in his own jungle right now. Looks like he's taken the Grump away yet again. As RNG still gear up, clearing vision for Ming. Anyone's Legend are forced out of the river.
This flank.
And Xiaohu, yeah, with the Glacial Path, you called it, Aux. Ice rains down right into the cooler for Anyone's Legend as Chocho baits him with time, but even time won't save you. Everyone has to die. Eventually, Forge comes in on top of Xiaohu, who's great, but here comes the monster. TPing in with Needlework number 1, Needlework number 2. Ignite down. The needles penetrate again. Wade jumps backline as Xiaohao has some early access to damage, and Sonic Wave connects. Okay, Anyone's Legend. I can see it with the Boomerang Blade flashed away from, and Betty running forward. Anyone's Legend still turn the tides.
And this is the Anyone Legend that we've been missing for a while now. These team fighting powerhouses, despite the fact RNG feels so confident, they're able to turn it around. Betty just free hitting for the longest time there, able to get the Zeri value.
Well, I didn't expect it, Aux, especially with the way the game's going, but we'll watch again as Xiaohu starts it off.
Yeah, so this looks good initially, they engage, but importantly, Xiaohu, they don't manage to connect onto. And it's actually an ult from Xiaohu used on a Chocho. So Chocho does go down, sure, absolutely. But in the ensuing fight, like, a lot is committed here. A lot of health bars start to get low. Breathe looks for the damage here, but burns all his cooldowns. And Betty, dodging that third ult from the Gwen, is now in a position to start just ramping up, right? These long fights are where Zeri is so powerful. And you can see that RNG just have no gas left in the tank.
Betty, man. I mean, doing so much work, still on that one item. But Betty now 2-0-2 with a bounty. And for Anyone's Legend, this game a little bit closer than we expected. And Aux, we have to remember, they also got the Dragon, so they're dictating the pace down there. When this game was so much about how Breathe could carry, he's now 5-3. And ZDZ's actually picked up a couple of kills himself. He is catching up.
Yeah, I think AL, though, they're still at a deficit, but they have those Dragons, which is nice.
Yep.
But they have to respect the fights. Probably won't be that easy again because RNG, Xiaohu burn a lot of resources onto the Alistar. If he uses that ult...
Perfect execution has been used. Needlework part 2 into 3. Chocho with the dive. Under turret though, even with the Unbreakable Will. We're getting deja vu, but this time we're not in the same place we were before. Anyone's Legend spicing this up against the MSI champions, while Aux, this is going to be mid-turret, but also bot for Anyone's Legend. Top as well, likely to go down.
Yeah, and I think here Betty should just be able to finish off the Herald. I say that, looks like he's too afraid to step up. They should just get the tower here in the end.
Lightning
Betty...
crash. Oh, Betty, Betty.
Couldn't find a window, but still, AL managed to get a kill top lane. They get a tower bot lane, but they lose 2 mids. So a heavy trade in return. They should be able to pick this one up as well. In terms of gold, it's going to end up favoring AL. But in terms of structures on the map, it's a bit painful to lose your mid tier 2 so early.
But Aux, I'm waiting for this gear up of a pick. RNG looking for Xiaohao, and Chocho Ming goes over. Flash committed with the quickness again. I mean, Chocho, no Unbreakable Will. Nice pick off from RNG. It's 18 minutes in the game. Aux, of course, they had to come alive a little bit more.
Yeah, so using those opportunities and tracking the cooldown so well. They know when Chocho doesn't have ultimate or flash. Able to find that pick, and not much Alistar can do. Alistar, very good at going in. Not so good at going out again.
All right, next objective, 2 minutes. 1 minute until the Baron. That pick, okay, meaningful for gold, but we're still not around these neutrals. Aux, run me through again because we know Sivir, Gwen, scaling, but we also talked about the fact that Anyone's Legend have really good scaling themselves. We've got this Zeri, we've also got side lane threats. Mobility is a big issue as well. Just give me a quick reminder, a quick refresher as we come up to third dragon.
Yeah, so in the team fights, if Betty can free hit, you can get a ton of value from the Zeri. And it also comes down to what ZDC and Forge can do, because if they just get caught in the mix and they get locked down, like if they all get connected onto by Xiaohu, by Wei, if they all get in an AoE clump, that is where AL can really struggle. They prefer the fights to be a bit more spread out, right? Because like Forge can probably solo kill Breathe at this point, or at least be close to it. You know, ZDZ is a problem for a Gwen, but it doesn't work when everyone's come together because there's so much AoE from RNG. If you think about like every single member has either AoE CC or AoE damage, and really AL want to have a more spread out fight where it's hard to focus out targets one at a time.
I think we've seen, you know, the fights go well, like that last one, when, as you said, the fight went longer after RNG expended everything in that choke. So you're right on the nail with this one, because Anyone's Legend have shown us that as these fights go longer for the Akali, for the Jax, for the Zeri, that damage just keeps on ramping up. And now with 2 items and a QSS, I love the item choice here. Is Forge going to find Xiaohu? Shuriken flip. Forge, how you feeling? Well, against Xiaohu, not as icy as he would like. As Anyone's Legend still gear up, 35 seconds until this third dragon. RNG, something's got to give, because we have strong solo laners with 2 items. Gala as well with his second, but Anyone's Legend have position priority first.
Yeah, and Cloud Soul would be pretty big for AL, right? With the Zeri, the movement speed would be massive. But they don't need to fight this if they don't want to. If things seem a little bit questionable, they could give this one up, live to fight another day. They have 2 dragons in pocket. Because if they lose this fight badly, bear in mind, Baron's available. That could be on the cards. But for now, Forge is moving onto the flanks. And this can be a really important factor. If Forge causes problem for RNG's backline, maybe the fight doesn't go so easy.
That Akali with everything available as well. The flash is what scares me the most. Anyone's Legend kiting back as RNG look for this engage, but on a control ward right now, they know the Akali's there as Breathe jumps on in over the wall. Forge is now here. We're looking for the 5v5 as a perfect execution. Starts it off. Chocho with the engage. Xiaohao, no! The kick flash doesn't work. Comes in for the reposition, but he's bursted down, and Ming doesn't mean much as now with the quickness in. Everybody knocked up, knocked out as Betty kites back. This is his fight. He needs to survive, though. Breathe says no. Again, oxygen deprivation for Anyone's Legend.
And AL, they didn't need to take that fight. They thought they found the angle, and they get eviscerated right there. You saw Xiaohao actually think the play he was going for was he dashed in. He wanted to flash out of vision so he couldn't get ulted. We'll track that one here. So he goes in, and he knows that Xiaohu will just CC him if he tries to kick him. So he flashes into the brush instead. I think maybe he was trying to kick to the side. I'm not sure what the play was there really, but either way, he doesn't get locked down by the ult, but then he goes in there and just instantly gets eviscerated, and then AL just get melted. They just instantly dive in and they're all clumped together. The AoE comes through, and Betty does his best trying to survive till the end, but they just keep charging forwards. Remember, new Sivir, the movement speed resets the ultimate movement speed on takedowns, and now RNG have Baron. They have a 6k gold lead, and they're looking to take this dragon as well.
That's still sitting there after the last fight. All right, Anyone's Legend, you weren't confident in the last one. Maybe less so now as Glacier Path's going to be taken. Xiaohu is forcing Forge out, and that dragon will stop the stacking. The gold lead massive, as you alluded to, 7,000 in their favor. And since we last checked in with RNG, now after the fight, a Void Staff on Xiaohu, a BF sword for Gala, which always sounds, I always wondered what the B and the F stands for in sword, but I think we all know. More importantly, top side for Breathe, almost a Void Staff there too, Aux. They got so much standing gold now on this bottom side with an inner turret after this as well to be threatened.
And there's not much that AL can really do. Remember, the team with all the setup at RNG, we saw what happened with Xiaohu, trying to make a kick engage happen. Jojo can try, but the gold deficit is so big now. AL are looking. They're going to try and make it work.
Okay, well, Forge starts it off. Double knock-up, though, from Wei is great as TP in with the counter-strike. Breed joins in, but locked into place. Absolutely countered as Needlework is silly busted. We see RNG gearing for the engage. Xiaohu, an absolute maniac. As Wei now with flash available. AL are poking him down, and Xiaohu overambitious. But hey, if it gets the inner turret, who am I to say anything?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit too deep from Xiaohu, but ultimately AL are just not in a position to punish, and RNG gets so much of this push. Almost a 9,000 gold lead now. Void Staff picked up for Breathe, and you already saw how much damage his Needlework was doing. Betty's actually even had to go for a QSS, so delaying that third item spike that Zeri wants to lean on. And honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure if Betty's going to get to 3 items with how much RNG are pushing the pace of the game. And it's kind of almost a bit of a repeat of the game one. They were faster paced in the early mid game, right? But it just feels like it hits a point, you make a mistake, and RNG take everything.
It hurt so much when Anyone's Legend showed us in those last couple of fights how this comp could work out and how they could get to a game 3. But now for RNG having control, as red buff is even insult to injury. Anyone's Legend back against the wall yet again in an LPL season where they're so close to playoffs, but they're facing teams like this that are absolute behemoths. RNG with their comeback now, 9k gold ahead as Breathe almost has the needlework. Part number 7. Breathe almost level 16 as well. Worth mentioning is Xiaohu. Oh my god! Bury them in a grave. The tomb is set. And immediately Xiaohu makes it an uneven advantage.
Just decimates them. Not even the fact that Chocho's down, but so much damage done. Betty has to reset. Zizi has to go. You know, some teams will take a tier 2 there, and that'll be a positive of the Baron, right? Is using it to be able to get another tier 2 in the top lane. RNG don't even sell for that. They'll take the tier 2, the inhib tower kill, and the inhib. And now they're still looking for more. The rest of the team not even letting AL get to the mid lane tower.
For someone who's supporting such a nice champion, Xiaohu's looking so damn hot right now. As RNG get double inhib and back themselves away. They've got another dragon, another Baron if they so choose, and they've got an 11k gold lead here once again at the 25-minute mark. This is our 6th win streak team. This is Royal never give up. And even when the team fights were going well for Anyone's Legend, Royal never give up.
Yeah, and I mean, this is fantastic from Xiaohu. Instant gets the claw into root, into self ult, just means they can't really do anything to him. They all get knocked down, and Ming's ready to play engage, but they don't even need it. They just chunk them out by enough. And now, looking at the resets coming in, Gala has that infinity edge, right? Xiaohu is going to reset, and wondering what he's going to have finished up for himself. But either way, the damage is getting pretty absurd at this point. And they were already so far ahead. They were already... Oh, yeah, I don't actually think he bought anything there. I think he already had those items. But regardless, I think he's working on the Rabadons. So at this point, RNG are so far ahead. They're so strong. And AL just don't have the damage really to cut through anyone.
RNG is showing us that, you know, it comes to mid-game and yet again, AL's decisions are getting limited. Now, we're highlighting them quite a lot here as RNG are looking down the barrel of another 2-0, but closing this game again against AL, Aux, that's what has to come through now as RNG gear up for the last inhibitor turret left standing. Look at the side waves crashing in. Mid and top is what I'm referring to here, as bot is going to be timed quite nicely with the pressure from these other lanes.
Yeah, and you know, there is decent wave clear on AL, but when these super minions start mounting in the side, it's going to cause a problem. And RNG can just dive if they want to. They have the Lissandra.
Breeze level 16 as well. Are you ready for the needlework? That tip, that point is going to hurt like hell as RNG's last inhibitor now going to be taken down, and Anyone's Legend against a 2-0 RNG, what they face off against. It looked close, but 27 minutes is what we're staring down as Gala with 3 items now has the Ricochet dream. Minion waves disintegrate as Xiaohao makes the play, but that fingertip! Gala every time. His name backwards is a lag, but I've never seen this guy lag out in my life. Every single game, there's always a play from this AD powerhouse as RNG with a triple over to Gala. Give him a quadra and give RNG our praises as they move to a 7-win streak and look like one of the top dogs in the LPL.
I feel like RNG's form at the moment is not just worrying for the teams they are yet to face. It's worrying for every team who's going to go into playoffs. It was worrying on the international stage. RNG looking in fantastic form. And I mean, they seem like they want to not only defend the LPL title, but head towards Worlds and look to try and get something there, because this RNG had a slow start to the season, not just because the schedule had more games, less games for them, but also it felt like they took a bit of time to piece it together. But now, absolute decimation on the Rift. It just feels like when they pick a target, when they pick a fight, they just crush them. It just doesn't even feel close.
Again, mid-game is the broken record of story that we've been telling you all out there for this entire split, for this entire year. RNG's mid-game just switches on, and even though the fights were bouncing back at them, RNG switch another button and down
Man,
it comes.
that spell shield.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, you know, Gala has got 10 solo kills this split for a reason. Gala's also picked up a hell of a lot of MVPs this split, considering that in previous, even last year, we talked a lot about Ming and Gala stealing the show from Ming. Even though Ming has MVPs himself, I feel like this split, Gala has also just been on point. I'm looking now, he's only got 1 MVP. What is that? I just feel like he's had so many good moments. Auxin.
This is the problem, right? If you want to get a lot of MVPs, you don't want to be on a team like RNG,
True.
right? It is a challenge to get MVPs on this team because it's constantly a fight over them. But I think, you know, the thing with RNG is, like, we always talk with them about them being the cerebral team, being very intelligent. You see that on display, but also just the individual performance, the way they play out fights. AL are a team who their biggest strength this split has been their team fighting. That has been the main thing we praised, something that shone a little bit in spring as well. And it just wasn't even close in the fights. It just felt like RNG they know how they want to play the fights. They know what they want to set up for the fights, but also the execution. You know, the fact that, like, as soon as Xiaohao went in for that kick around the dragon, he gets locked down, right? Has to be in the flash initially, but then just gets stunned, deleted. And the whole team is like, it's go time. And they dive forwards. And then that final fight, the spell shield from Gala, it just feels like they are so crisp on their plays.
And this is why picks like the Lissandra for Xiaohu can't be given over, right? 60% of the time, it's banned against RNG for good reason, but Xiaohu's control, even when in the early game we saw level 1, level 2 against this Akali, take him down a peg, Forge caught back up, team fights get more impactful for RNG, and these Frozen Thralls mixed with Xiaohu's positioning have also just been clutch. This is why we also said that, you know, Xiaohu's been a big focus this split, where he truly is the member of RNG getting recognized the most.
I mean, he's been doing so much work, and I think the Lissandra pick is so good because I feel like that's what RNG have really good target selection. When they want someone to go down, they will go down. And the fact that they have these tools, where you have Ming on the Rakan, you have Xiaohu and Lissandra, who can just pick targets, lock them in place, and let Gala and Breathe do the damage, very effective. And it feels like, you know, Gala, Xiaohu, and Breathe all doing about a similar percentage of the damage is just textbook RNG. You know, Bin was very powerful when he had a good game, but could be a bit volatile. But I still feel like, you know, some of the questions were with Breathe coming in, would they have that